Hey YouTube, in this video I'm going to be doing a deck profile on my updated Shadow Paladin Revenger deck. So I didn't actually build Drag Ruler, because I didn't pull any of them from any of the boxes, so I didn't bother getting any other copies of it. So I may eventually get around to getting Drag Ruler, like probably once the price falls significantly and no one really cares about him, once Legion starts showing up. So I may eventually do that, or I may just skip him all together and never revisit him at all. But anyway, I prefer Raging Form Dragon. Like I said earlier, when I first built the Raging Form deck, back when BT12, Binding Force of Black Rings came out, Raging Form was going to be my main deck for the year, and that still holds true. So what I did was I did update the deck for BT15 Infinite Rebirth so that it's not like I didn't do anything to it. I'm just testing it out with this new build, so let me know what you think. Start off for Revenger Raging Form Dragon, still a very good Vanguard for Shadow Paladins, specifically the Revenger subclan. Anyone who has played Vanguard for a while now, at least for Season 3, would know that Raging Form is a pretty popular card. But it depends on where you are at. Some people, like, you don't see this card at locals at all, because Kagero, Aquaforce, or some other random clans, Eradicators are seen a lot more. But he's still a very good Vanguard. He's a Persona Ride, so he's unique in that sense. And his backup is 4 Mordred Phantom, so 4 of the Break Ride. So Grade 3 lineup didn't change at all. For Grade 2s, 4 Blaster Dark Revenger. I still stuck with 4 because he's very important with his combo with Dorint. Disrupts the opponent's front row and can conserve your counterblast. Next, 3 Nullity Revenger Masquerade. So down from 4 to put in to make room for another Grade 2 that we have. But anyway, he's still pretty good. I honestly believe that unless there's no better tech choice, the 12k Grade 2 is, for any sort of deck, is really 3 is really a good number. Like 4, I think, is kind of too many. You could probably fit another random tech card in. So that's why I dropped him to 3. And 2 is fine. Even 1 is fine, really. It just depends on how many different tech cards you're running, and is your deck very dependent on rear guards. So next, 3 Wily Revenger Mana. So this is what replaced Tartu. And people probably went like, why did you take Tartu out? Well, Tartu's Counterblast 2. This doesn't Counterblast at all. The only and basically it's the same effect as Tartu, but minus you don't have to Counterblast 2. And the downside is that at the end phase, that Grade 1 or Grade 0 that you called out behind her goes to the bottom of the deck at the end of the turn. So this is very good on the turn where you need an emergency call for Raging Form to get his effect. Like if you already have one of these in the hand and you already know that you're going to use it, or if you have to ride Raging Form early, like you miss your Break Ride, so you have to ride Raging Form, and if you hit Limit Break, then Mana is a lot better at conserving your Counterblast in that regard, because she'll just call a random Grade 1 or Grade 0 Revenger, and then Raging Form can just eat it up later. So it doesn't have to. You don't have to worry about having to send it back. So it's like a free +1 for the sacrifice cost of Raging Form. So it's pretty good in that sense. That's why I'm trying it out. The other downside of her against Tartu, when compared to Tartu, is that she's only an 8k. So she's more like Macaw, the original Shadow Paladin that had this sort of effect. But she's just specific to Revengers. You can't use her with that new wing sword breaker thing, that Dindrake clone that they got. So 3 of her, and then 1 of this new card. I'm just trying 1, Revenger Bloodmaster. A lot of people are kind of torn between, like, there's people who will think this card's really good, and there's others who think this card's terrible. I'm kind of on the fence on it. I don't really like it too much, because I don't like self-damaging cards in decks that aren't about, like, winning from Omega Lock. I can see this working better in Drag Ruler than in Raging Form's deck, but I'm just trying it at 1, see how it works, like how much advantage can I gain off of this card. So this is the card that took the 4th Nullity spot. So just 1, I think 1's just enough. It's a 5k grade 2, so it's barely better than Skull Witch Nevin. In my opinion, its cost is still Counterblast. It's like Counterblast 2, essentially, because you're self-damaging yourself. I really think this card would have been a lot better if the damage didn't go face down, or like when you take the card from the top of the deck and put it in the damage zone, it would be better off if it was face up instead of face down. So it's essentially Counterblast 2 when he's placed on R to draw 2 cards. So, moving on to grade 1s. 2 Dark Revenger Mac Lir. He is the perfect guard. And here's where the deck changed quite a bit. So 2 Hellrage Revenger Quesal. A lot of people are probably wondering, well, this is a terrible choice for Raging Form because he's Persona Ride based. So if you mill this card onto the Guardian Circle, or if you mill one of these onto the Guardian Circle with her effect, that's pretty terrible. In a way, yes, that's true. I won't argue that. But it's also kind of like the probability of her also milling other cards that you want to get rid of so that you can draw into this, it's also there as well. So it sort of balances out. It's just kind of a luck sort of thing. So the other reason why we're able to run her is because we're running mana. Mana, unlike Tartu, just calls from the deck for free. So that's less Counterblast in that regard. So we do have the extra Counterblast available to pay the cost for her. And she kind of fits in with Raging Form because he doesn't have a Counterblast cost for his main re-ride effect. Whereas Drag Ruler is very good at conserving Counterblast, where he's only like Counterblast 1 and Retire 2, but it's still like it's Counterblast 1, so I don't know. You'll rarely ever see this in competitive play. Like, most people are just gonna stick to the 4 perfect guards. Like, if I was gonna play this deck competitively, I probably would take her out. But for fun, I'm just trying it out, see how it goes. So far it works pretty good. Like, I've played a couple of matches where with her, for some reason, milling the cards, I'm always able to drive check into this or just draw into it. So I've been able to Persona Ride this probably a bit more than I have without her. So I don't know. I mean, you're just gonna have to make the call if you're running the deck, like whether you want to try out 1 Quesal or 2. I'm just trying 2 just to see it go off more often. But so far it seems to work. Next, 4 Barrier Troop Revenger Dorint. Very important with Blaster Dark. We're running 4 Blaster Dark, 4 Baron Troop. Baron Troop also helps, that combo where you unflip, that also helps Quesal. So that's why it's very important. And then 3 Transient Revenger Masquerade, just the 10k grade 1 for Revengers. 2 Revenger Dark Bond Trumpeter. This is an emergency call with mana. You can emergency call this, and then emergency, if you really have to, if you need the card for Revenger, or for Raging Form, you can Counterblast 1, throw like a draw trigger on the field. And the last grade 1 is Malice Revenger Dylan. He is Raging Form's personal booster. Since the deck is focused on Raging Form, I am teching one of these in, and it works perfectly fine. For grade 0s, nothing changed. It's still 8 critical, 4 stand, and 4 draw. Now, I could try 12 critical. I don't really think I would do 8 critical, 4 stand, or any kind of variant with stands, mainly because stand triggers don't really work too well with Raging Form Dragon, because he does destroy your field presence if he's going to re-ride. But, I mean, you could try it. The one thing about running 12 critical or some kind of variants of stands and criticals with no draws, I will emphasize this again, is that it helps the Quintet wall be that much more effective. I mean, having those extra 10k shields when you need them for your Quintet wall is excellent. So, I wouldn't shy away from running 12 critical with this deck. It's just, I don't feel it's really necessary. And I prefer the speed advantage of being able to thin the deck with mana and, you know, all the other kind of stuff. Bloodmaster. So, combined with the draws, combined with the re-ride, it's just really good the way it is. And then the starter is Frontline Revenger Claudas. I stuck with him. I'm not going to run the generic search for a grade 3. I don't really think it's necessary. And the new starter, the dog forgot its name. Judge Bow Revenger. He is good with Drag Ruler because if you read the card's effect, it mentions Phantom in the name, so you can't really use it with these guys. I mean, I guess you could with Mordred Phantom, but I don't really see that working too well in here. So this is still the best starter in my opinion. So let me know what you guys think of the deck. Let me know if you want me to build the Drag Ruler one. If there's a lot of likes or if there's a lot of comments asking to see that deck, I may go ahead and build it. We'll see. So if you guys like the video, please hit that like button. It helps a lot. And if you want to see more Cardfight Vanguard videos, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.